Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're here in Picks and Bans for game number two in this best of three between Gamers2 and Ninjas in Pajamas. I'm Malthus X and being joined here by Spuddington. And we just saw an exceedingly one-sided affair where Ninjas in Pajamas took a big lead thanks to a 4v2 dive up in the top lane and never looked back.
Yeah, they really didn't look back. I wouldn't be surprised if we see an Elise ban this game. And I certainly wouldn't be surprised if Gamers2 are going to try anything they can to prevent a 2v1 swap up again, because that did not work in their favor. And it's also worth noting, of course, Gamers2 are one of the teams in EU Challenger that have such talented lanes that they can actually go toe-to-toe with NiP, who are also famously talented individual players, and not come out behind. So they will want to do that if they possibly can.
So LeBlanc and Lulu banned out thus far for Gamers2. Irelia and Lucian the bans here from Ninjas in Pajamas. We're going to see what the final bans will be here. Either of these sides. Do you feel like either of the solo lanes are worth banning out in this game for Gamers2? Should they take away? Well, they're not going to. Do you feel like they maybe should have taken away either the Kayle or the Yasuo?
Yasuo is definitely a big threat. You've got to be very, very careful about that because Nuke really played that well. He does so much work with it. And again, it fits into NiP's whole style where they play very heavy team fights. Although, in fairness, in the last game, they were not reliant on team fights very much. They actually did quite a good job without any, really, team fights. They obviously got some small fights going on, some small skirmishes and catching people out, but Yasuo definitely fits in NiP's playstyle, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them pick it up against Kassadin.
Yeah, that would be the matchup if they go for that. The Twitch was the final ban, leaving Ninjas in Pajamas to ban away the Jax. So they leave up either an extremely strong top laner or an extremely strong mid laner. And it's going to be the Kassadin 4 Ocelot this time around. That means that Ko will get his Lee Sin. That was left available for him. And they grab up the Caitlyn again for freeze.
Interesting that they've done that, in spite of the fact that the Graves is open, in spite of the fact that there are quite a lot of options for them, but it seems they want to reserve. This is one of the weaknesses, actually, with NiP, is their champion pool in top lane restricts them to needing to reserve their counter pick for it. If they try and like blind pick a Kayle into their top lane, they generally have some issues with that because obviously you can counter pick it and then you can also gank it into oblivion. So in this situation, they should be okay, obviously because they have the last pick, but sometimes they get forced into awkward positions as a result of that.
All right, so they do pick up the Graves, and it's going to be Elise for the jungle from Morden this time around, one of his very favorite champions. So that'll be fun to watch. Braum still available, unpicked here through the first couple of rounds of picks. They're showing us a potential Kayle, so they might go for the Kayle pickup. And they can either throw that onto Alex Ich again, or they could give it to Nuke for the mid lane. We saw exactly how much of a lead Kayle is capable of building over Kassadin in our earlier best of three of the game. So we'll see what they end up going for here. They lock into Annie. So they have Kayle and Annie. Annie most likely going to be the support pickup here for Mithy. But you never know. It could be the potential for someone else to grab that up.
Yeah, that implies they're not planning on a Yasuo pick here. If they wanted to go with a Yasuo pick, they'd probably have taken Braum again, simply because it would have given them the knock-up at a long range as an initiation. So I'm curious to see what NiP look to run in their mid/top role here, because they obviously have quite a lot of options, given that they are very flexible in that regard. And Gamers2, they're going to have to deal with an Annie lane. Shouldn't be unreasonably difficult, though. They could even pick something like Thresh and do pretty well against Annie.
And of course, Annie is like the initiation support that you grab when you can't take Leona. And Leona was still available. So Gamers2 are looking to pick that one up. They do lock that in. So Dude's going to have the long-range initiation and the hard tankiness that comes from Leona. And it looks like we're just down to JWoww's pick for the top lane right now. Yuki's showing us a Rise, and that will get locked in now. So there it is. Going to be Rise up top for JWoww.
Interesting. So Gamers2, maybe they are not planning on avoiding the 2-on-1. They do have probably the strongest jungler in terms of options when you're dealing with 2v1 situations. You can go for 3v1 dives, etc., etc. And you can also push very quickly on towers. But picking your Rise implies that you're basically saying, come and dive me. And you still got to deal with Lee Sin, which is scary times. So, could be a little bit tricky. But Curious what NiP lock in. At the moment on my screen, hovering over Pantheon.
They end up locking into Jarvan. So they have both Jarvan and Lee Sin on this one. Are we going to see Nuke Duck playing the Lee Sin against Kassadin?
It's a possibility. If I had to guess, I'd actually say it would be the lane Jarvan rather than the lane Lee Sin. Simply because the Jarvan has a little bit less dependence on landing skill shots and avoiding minions, because you can just flag and drag right through all of the minions and do a ton of damage with it. Like, seriously, lane Jarvan does so much damage. It's horrendous. And he did, of course, get buffed not that long ago for the lane presence. But at the moment, looking like the jungle.
Well, we'll see. This obviously isn't the LCS. We have no limit on when you have to swap your champions back around. So it's going to go right down to the wire before we find out what the final assignments are going to be. And that's it. We're expecting delay. It's going to be a mid lane Lee Sin, a la Frog in Season 2, up against Ocelot's Kassadin.
That is a confident pick. Really, really confident pick. But it gives them quite strong lane dominance.
Well, there's one thing we didn't talk about that, and we should mention this before we go into the break too. We have seen Ninjas in Pajamas swap Alex Itch to the mid lane before when he was playing LeBlanc.
That's true.
So it's very likely that it's going to be Lee Sin going up top against JWoww, and they'll just have Alex go back into the mid lane against the Kassadin with Kale.
Yeah, that is true. They do swap around their roles quite a lot.
But never know. Hey, it could be the explosive mid lane Lee Sin we want to see. It's hard to tell, guys. It's all a mystery.
We'll find out one day, or in 2 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, in about 3 minutes from now. So we're actually going to go ahead and head to that commercial break. When we come back, it's going to be game number 2 of this best of 3 series. Ninjas in Pajamas do lead at 1-0 over Gamers2.
Like I've been waiting a million years. Lost to the storm and battled flames. Finally found you in my darkest place. Two phantoms in the night, together alone. Wanna watch the moonlight, put on a show. Never wanna let you go, no. Wanna let you go. Everywhere you go, time to stay, don't fight it anymore. So give me your heart of glass.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we head into our second game in this best of three between Ninjas in Pajamas and Gamers2. This is the SoloMid Invitationals 2014, brought to you in part by Logitech and ProBuilds.net. I'm MalvisX, being joined here by Spuddington. And Gamers2, they lost a best of three against Mouse Sports earlier today for the Black Master Cup. They lost game number one against Ninjas in Pajamas. Spuddington, are they on the ropes? Is this team on threat of going to tilt?
You've got to consider the possibility. They are a well-known team, and especially when the center of your team is Ocelot. He's a well-known emotional player. He will admit himself he is highly emotional about how he plays this game, and if he is not rolling with emotion, he is not going to be quite what he would like to be. And now they're going to have to deal with some unconventional lanes. They've got to deal with the Kale, potentially top lane. It is actually up there. And a potential Lee Sin mid. Although we were expecting it would be the Lee Sin in the top lane and the Kale in the mid, at the moment the positions would tell us otherwise.
Yeah, we'll see if they decide to end up moving this around. The teleport is something that's kind of very common on top laners right now, so it does kind of give us the hint that Alex Hitch is going to be going to the mid lane instead. But it could just be that he wants to have the kill pressure over Ryze that he normally wouldn't have if he brought the teleport instead of the Ignite. He might try to go for some really aggressive level 2 all-in or something like that. Or it could even be that they're sort of predicting that the lanes aren't going to be what they're expecting. Alex Hitch now moving in towards the mid lane, and once again we're seeing jungler and top laner. And if Nuke Duck is indeed going to be the top laner here, starting off on the blue buff, and we're doing some buddy system jungling, we'll see exactly where they emerge from the jungle.
Yeah, so it looks like we are going to be seeing Kale in the solo lane in the bot lane, but here we go. NiP moving in for the enemy jungle buff. With the duo lane in mid lane, it will make life very difficult for Cassidy, for one thing. That's part of the reason they're using Annie here, I feel, is because they don't need to go up against Leona directly, so they're not as concerned about that. But it will make it hard for them to push down the tower as quickly. It's hard to build up a big creep wave in the mid lane because it is a shorter lane. It does seem like they are going to be getting their level 2s on Nuke Duck. Actually, not level 2 on Nuke Duck, level 2s on Ko. I'm curious to see what they look to do with that. Going to take another jungle camp, but are they going to go for the mid lane push?
Freeze has successfully landed every Piltover Peacemaker onto Ocelot. Ocelot, he's got the health potions and the crystalline flask, so he's got an insane amount of sustain. Dude going to be helping that a little bit as well with his relic shield charges. But I think if Dude hadn't come to the mid lane, we would have seen the same dive only onto Ocelot instead of onto one of the side laners.
So, Cassidy going to have to... Ryze going to have to watch himself, and we see Lee Sin now teleporting up to the top lane. He actually possibly could have teleported up a little bit quicker, because he was essentially in a one-on-one up there. Leona has roamed to mid lane to help out Cassidy, whereas normally what you do is you freeze up there. JWoww in trouble, though.
JWoww in trouble. He tries to... waits it out to see if JWoww will burn his flash early, so that he can get both the flash and the knockup. It ends up having to go in as he got into tower range and started taking tower damage, but no flash on Ryze.
Yeah, and now the next target is Nuke Duck. He's got to watch himself because he has not got a lot of health, and Elise can obviously break tower aggro. Remember, repel, very strong.
Very strong. Ryze goes back to base, comes back with the teleport. At this point, Ko has just been hanging around. Nuke Duck gonna get stunned up by Morden. He's gonna flash himself away from this one before Yuki has the opportunity to try to close in for the kill. And it's just Alex Hitch along with Ko right now bullying around the bottom lane. Dude has just been roaming from lane to lane, shoring up wherever he feels like the biggest weaknesses for his team.
But it's smart play by Dude. He's making sure that you don't get that 4 versus 2 situation that we saw last time where there's a 4-man versus a 2-man and tower be damned, they're going to dive you. It means when Dude is roaming around like this, as long as he's there before the gank starts, or at least in preparation to stop a dive happening, he can prevent it, essentially. He can stop the danger from happening. He can stop them from ever going for those dives and snowballing out of control. Question is, of course, how well would the other players roam to get themselves some farm? Right now, I've got to say, it feels like NiP are getting the slight edge in terms of experience.
So Freeze in the mid lane, freely farming up. His CS numbers are equal to Yuki, whereas in the last game we saw Freeze kind of matched up against Yuki the whole time and slowly built a bit of a creep lead. Up in the top lane, Nuke Duck is just doing everything he can to try to harass the Graves and keep himself as healthy as possible. He's a little bit of an XP disadvantage because of the the early game roaming around, never really being in a lane to soak up a lot of experience, sharing the experience with his jungler Ko. So it's going to be a little while. Typically, you think 1v1 Lee Sin versus an AD carry, Lee Sin will just kind of walk all over them. But he's going to take some time to actually get caught up in experience and kind of hit that powerful phase for Lee Sin.
And of course, if he gets poked down too much in the meantime while he's weak, it's going to be difficult for him. But going aggressive right off, he managed to land the Q in spite of being right in the middle of a gaggle of minions. So there's actually some pretty good skills, but you've got to be very careful. If you're low on health and Leona's there, you can tank stuff easily, but Mitty is there.
Yeah, exactly. Dude can take up tower shots. He can go for the stuns and get the sunlight procs down, pick up the kill. But these supports have just, I mean, they've been roaming around all the time. They have yet to been able to just kind of sit comfortably in one lane. So I'm really impressed with their movement across the map and the way they've been denying dive opportunities again and again for this opposing side. We've seen some really aggressive games early on, and that early game aggression has been, for the most part, stagnated by the support movement.
Yeah, it's starving them of XP, but both of these characters are kind of like mobile stun bots, so they're not too bothered about that. Obviously, they will want to hit level 6 at some point, but it won't be too big of a problem for their team's playstyle, as long as they're still getting their carries farmed up, and that is, of course, the major factor here. Rise is a little bit behind, Castlin is a little bit behind, but still not doing too badly.
No, they're going to be pretty content with this one. Ko finds Morden, and Morden just batters Ko to no reply. So that's pretty solid there for Morden, being able to kind of diffuse a little bit of the pressure. If Jarvan's able to kind of find his way behind Ocelot before Ocelot hits level 6, they might try to do some anti-stun with Jarvan knock-up and see how much damage Freeze is able to put down, especially if Freeze hits level 6 before Ocelot does. And the ace in the hole will be there for the potential finisher, while Cassidy can't just riff walk away at the first sign of danger. So it could be a little bit problematic. But there's the level 6 now for Ocelot. He's going to have both flash and riff walk. It's going to be very difficult to take that champion down now, even with a 3 or 4-man dive.
Yeah, of course. If you can lead in with the stun from Annie, then you get the knock up from Jarvan, you can potentially chain so much CC on an early game Cassidy because he's squishy that you could burst him down. And Jarvan in particular can follow a Cassidin through one jump because he's got multiple gap closers himself in the form of Cataclysm and his Flag and Drag. But, of course, right now, the laning phase is starting to collapse. We did just have the mid tower going down, NiP getting themselves some farm on Kaylin, but also picking up the global objective.
That's going to be the first tower of the game falling down. It's about a 600 gold advantage here for Ninjas in Pajamas. So all things considered, that tower is making up pretty much the entirety of the difference between these two sides.
Yeah, that is definitely true. They have got some issues. We are going to be seeing them just walking away from the red buff. And of course now, you've got to be very careful if you're NiP, because this is a very heavily movement-based game. For instance, Mithy right now, he is such a target if he's out of position, because Ocelot will kill him very quickly, and he will kill him and chase him forever, since he is such a mobile champion. At the moment, though, looks like Freeze is, if anyone, going to be the target, but not going to be.
Indeed, he's not. Alex Ich starting to put some dominance down in the bottom lane, rather. He trades very favorably against JWoww, and JWoww doesn't have his teleport available for a little while. So if Alex Ich is able to continue forcing favorable trades like that, he might be able to push JWoww out of lane and provide the dragon control that his team is looking for right now. Morden going to step up. Mithy's there. Stun goes down on Morden. There's a knockup as well. That's the CC chain we're talking about. Repel goes up, but it doesn't matter. Ignite from Alex Ich picks up first blood.
And that should be a dragon as well here. They might look to try and contest it, though, because actually thinking about it, Nuke Duck is in the top lane. They want to force the teleport, at least. And Dragon, at this stage of the game, does a lot of damage. Ocelot can move around this fight very easily as well, juggle the aggro. Teleport comes in, though. Looks like they're just going to pick this up. But they get the summoner spell.
They do get that one down. Ko with a good smite as the collateral damage comes in. Ninjas in Pajamas leap out to the early lead here.
Yeah, nice little edge for them. Obviously, starting to get the snowball rolling, and you do not want to be up against that if you're Gamers2. We saw what happened last game, although obviously this isn't nearly as big of a deal. But at the same time, Gamers2 this time have a late game to look forward to. They have a much stronger team, although JWoww
in so much trouble. It's not just the slows from the Q, it's also the red buff. He's going to be able to chase JWoww all the way back into the tower. JWoww does successfully hold on to his summoner spells, and he does have the teleport, so he can get himself right back out to lane very quickly here.
Yeah, that'll mean Alex Ich gets to push out and go back without needing a teleport. But, yeah, like you say, JWoww going to be able to get himself some decent farm here. He's got pretty good farm, which is an alarming sign for the future for NiP. But as long as they can keep bursting him out in team fights, he won't be a factor.
So we see up in the top lane, Nukeduck tried to go aggressively. Now Alex actually going back in onto JWoww. JWoww pops the ultimate. He's going to have to run away from this one. Alex is he's controlling the lane really well, but he's going to have to go back to base after that trade, and he doesn't have the teleport to get himself back in very quickly.
Yeah, Rise should be able to get another level up in the near future. Get the Catalyst, Brock, get some health back. If not, he's always got Biscuits, so just a little bit of difficulty.
He's got Biscuits, lots of mana regen in his ultimate to give him a little bit of health back as well. So if JWoww's able to just kind of stick around in the lane, it's not going to be too terribly bad for him. Alex's mana pool obviously going to suffer a lot more if he just tries to spam heals on himself after every single trade.
Yeah, he'll run out eventually. Got double Dorans, so not, you know, the biggest concern in the world. Speaking of biggest concerns, Nukeduck is not going to be able to set anything up for Job.
Tries to set it up. He used the ultimate onto Yuki and then had to just disengage as soon as Dude showed up earlier. So he isn't able to kind of go for the hard engagement onto Yuki at this point and set things up for his jungler. Nonetheless, Ko showing his presence all across the map, making Gamers2 feel like there's really no safe place to farm.
Yeah. I'm curious as to how Jarvan is going to transition into the mid-late game, but right now, actually, much bigger concern is Ko going to go in before Leona shows.
Doesn't look like he's being very patient. He spots out Dude and evacuates the area before he gets spotted by one more. Dude going to go for the Xenoblade over the wall anyway. Not going to find it. Mithy's there, gets a stun onto Morden. Isn't level 6, so can't commit the Tibbers. Alex Itch going to take a lot of damage, throws the intervention down, heals himself back up, and he's going to be just fine. Ocelot now trying to chase down to Mithy. Mithy doesn't have his stun up, isn't level 6, can't get the burst damage down. Morden goes back in, pulls himself back out, doesn't want to get bursted down by the Annie. Ocelot goes over the wall, gets exhausted immediately, throws down the Q. Gonna get a little bit of damage down. Mithy does have his stun back up again. The heal from Alex Itch helping out quite a bit as they run away from that one. And up in the top lane, Dude gonna burn his exhaust as well as Ko comes out from the fog of war.
Well, that gank has cost them. Mid tower will probably drop here. Actually, Ocelot is quite close, but it's worth Freeze's life to take this tower, so he's actually not going to risk it. But that gank there does showcase why Caston could be very strong in this game, though. Mithy was somewhat fortunate to survive there, and if Caston catches anyone out, he can get kills engineered. And now this is also very dangerous from NiP. This is a strange invade.
He's going to pull himself away from this one. Ocelot going to find the opportunity to go in. Freeze going to find himself extremely low. Flashes over the wall. Finds Ocelot waiting. Cocoon not going to land. Doesn't matter. Collateral damage plus the Force Pulse. Good to put the kill onto Ocelot.
Yeah, strange invade. Like I said, just not taking account of the fact they could easily be collapsed on. And now Ko going back again and has been seen. He's sweeping, so he doesn't necessarily know where he's been seen from, but he'll be okay. Oh god, JWoww's not okay.
Yeah, it turns out that a root is not as good at keeping Alex Itch from just diving you into the tower as the polymorph was in game number 1 of this series. Alex Itch, with the advantage, just shoves down JWoww.
In fairness, it's not like the polymorph did that much.
It did get him 1 kill when combined with flashing over a wall, but
that is true.
Yeah, just not enough. Not enough.
Team's turret has been destroyed.
Alex Itch's KO is a real terror. He is just destroying so many different opponents. In this game, he hasn't even had to worry about many ganks because of the 2v1s and the heavy roaming play. In those situations, he's much, much stronger. He's able to just sit in the lane and not worry about 2v1s happening on him when his support is willing to come out of nowhere and help him out.
So, Ko, Spirit of the Elder Lizard done. Morden has taken a break. Oh, JWoww gonna walk right into Nukeduck. Nukeduck takes, oh, that's so much damage. That's so much, that's like 60% of his health in about a half a second. And Nukeduck didn't even commit the ultimate to that. There is a good chance that he could have 100-0'd in there.
Yep, and now JWoww's finding Mithy. No.
Mithy gets the stuns down. JWoww needs to juke out this Q. He's just going to flash in, uses the ultimate. That's going to line up the very easy Sonic wave. Morden and Duty are there for the collapse. Nukeduck probably going to fall down for this one. Is able to get himself over to the wall. The Solar Flare plus the collateral damage going to be good to pick that kill up. Ocelot has teleported into the top lane, trying to chase down Mithy. Mithy gets the stun up, able to stun him up, create a little bit of space. Force Pulse goes down. Ocelot still considering going for the dive. No stun up for Mithy. He knows that. Going to continue chasing him down. Mithy trying to create as much space as he can to avoid giving the assist over, but Ocelot showing that Cassidon mobility picks himself up another kill.
But NiP finish off that mid tower at last, so they get themselves that little bit of gold. And now Alex may have overcommitted.
And you taking a very low teleport coming in the top lane. The tower will die, so the teleport's not going to go through. NukeDuck cannot join the fight on this one. Alex on the run. Is he going to go down? Does not have intervention. There's the Force Pulse. He almost certainly will fall down. Morden's going to be the one to pick that kill up. And this game, a significantly closer affair than game number 1 of the series.
Oh, massively so. But NiP are about to increase their lead a little bit more again. They are going for the dragon. Just one tiny step ahead this time. Getting the tower in the mid lane that was already very nearly dead, and they will get the dragon as well. Is Ko going to go for that? He's squishy.
He's going to go for it anyway. Throws down the Cataclysm as Yuki flashes over the wall. Going to burn the Summoner Heal as well to make sure that there is no follow-up. So the dragon goes down, 2 ninjas in pajamas, but Yuki's able to keep himself alive.
He's stealing away the red buff. Morden gets that, walks out. And looks like everyone's going to, go back for a bit here. Take a breather. Take stock of what's happening across the board. Next place I'm expecting to see a push would probably be NiP looking to go for that top tower right now. That's the sore thumb right now. It's the obvious objective. And having Alex pushing out the bottom lane, although he doesn't have teleport this game, is still a very viable option for them to try and engineer that tower going down. Because even if Alex dies, and there's no one that can one-on-one him, so he won't die unless they're committed 2 people. If he were to die, they could look to try and take that top tower relatively quickly with the wave being pushed out.
And the big question has got to be exactly how impactful will the Kassadin be? We saw earlier that a Kassadin that was horrifically behind was still able to make enormous plays. And if you compare the farm, Kassadin was in the 2v1 and NukeDuck was in the 2v... I say 2v1, the supports were kind of spending as much time out of the lane as they were in it. But you compare his nearest lane opponent's farm, and it was realistically Lee Sin, so he's actually 30 CS ahead. We'll see how much impact will Ocelot have, and how much impact will NukeDuck have as they go into the late game.
Yeah, Ocelot at the moment is committing a lot of his time to farming, and the vision control has been pretty good, which has led to not a lot of kills happening. But you can see NukeDuck was trying to set up a kill on him there. They couldn't quite get that. If Gamers2 could slow down the pace of this game, though, they will have the advantage. Like I said, Ryze, very, very strong in the late game there. Kassadin could engineer picks for them, but it's not having the best time so far.
Ocelot now finds himself actually in the 1v1. The farm is now complete. No, never mind. I was looking at the KO there for some reason. So he still has the bit of the farm lead there. He finds himself in the 1v1 against Lee Sin. And Kassadin is probably logically the smartest choice to go into this very long lane to farm right now because of how escapable he is with the Rift Walk. If you send Ryze to farm in a situation like that against champions like Lee Sin and Jarvan, who have as much hard CC and damage as those 2 champions do have, the Ryze is going to go down. It's not going to be pretty. The amount of ward control that they would have to have in order to make that a safe farming environment is way too high. So expect to see Ocelot going into these dangerous farming situations, as he does also have the teleport.
NiP are trying to engineer this top tower now. They've got vision control. They're going to get this. I don't think Gamers2 can safely contest the objective drop here. Looks like they might try. Ko just going to be the man and walk up.
Ko goes in, pops the ultimate down onto Morden. Morden goes up into the repel. Where's he going to come back down? He's going to come back down right where he dropped. Solar Flare goes down. Ko going to get locked up. Intervention goes on to him. Mithy steps forward. Nice. Timbers gets stuns down onto 4 members of Gamers2. Collateral damage goes down. Ko going to be able to just get himself out over the wall. Mithy looks like he's going to be the sacrificial lamb. He's at the back. Dude pulls himself in, and Dude's actually going to be the one to fall down. Flash comes out. There's the Rune Prison onto Mithy. Mithy will end up falling down. Alex Hitch turns back around, picks up the kill onto JWoww. Freeze now standing, dealing lots of damage. 260 damage crits coming out there onto Yuki. Yuki going to get taken down. 300 gold goes over to NukeDuck. Now NukeDuck, can he land the blind Q? Yes, he does! Gets it on to Morden. Morden gonna get taken down by the ace in the hole, and it's 5 for 2 in favor of Ninjas in Pajamas.
How in the hell did he land that Q? That was incredible game sense to realize that he was gonna be there, but well done is all I can really say on that front. But Gamers2 actually got a pretty good fight out of that situation, but they chased a little bit too far. It's always very tempting to do that when you have such strong chasing potential on Kassadin, but you've always got to bear in mind there's a lot of burst that comes out of NiP, and one person that puts a foot too far can get their head torn off. It's especially true of the Jarvan right now, because look at his build. He is super high damage, and a Jarvan like that does a lot.
This is a very Kha'Zix-esque Jarvan build. They're trying to steal away the red buff. It's going to end up going to Mithy. So the second game in a row where we see a red buff go over to a support. And this time the support's going to almost immediately die for it. And all the intervention comes down. The overload's not enough. But one last Rift Walk from Ocelot will pick that kill up for Gamers2.
It got him in the end. Did have to use the Rift Walk actually on him. Sits on his face, but they get that. Now they're going to push for the mid tower right now. Nuke Duck is torn. Doesn't know whether to push out the bot lane and try and draw them away or... Oh dear, freeze.
Ocelot jumping in on a freeze. Freeze taking out very low. Buckshot. Collateral damage. Good for the kill. Ocelot blinks himself forward. Now he's going to get chased around by Ko. Ko continue to go for the chase. He sees Alex Sidge there. Alex Sidge not going to be able to get enough damage down. Ocelot just blinks himself over the wall. Rift Walk paying dividends here for him. Nuke Duck now going to get caught up by Morden. Not going to take too much damage as he runs himself away from that one. And Gamers2, they're fighting themselves back in this one. 3,500 gold down. But it hasn't been too big of a deal for them when they find the opportunities. They can still pick up kills.
Most definitely can. That is the power of Kassadin, which we've spoken about so often. He creates opportunities for you that other champions just cannot. And the other thing right now is JWoww is starting to get towards power time for him. He is tier not too far off being finished. His Rod of Ages is stacked up or stacking up now. He's finishing items, finishing these major items, and he's going to start getting tanky soon. That's when you start fearing the rise. It's when he starts getting his tanky, because at this stage he's got pretty good damage, but he's easily focused out. Later on, they're going to need tons and tons of damage focused on him. That then opens up the other damage sources on that team to do what they want, but NiP should be able to get this dragon pretty much free of charge.
In position for this one. Get as much damage on as they can. Gamers2 not going to respond. Once again, Ocelot in the top lane, taking advantage of that long lane farm and just getting himself as much free experience as he can. We'll see if they're consistently conceding global objectives. That's the second or third dragon that is in favor of NiP. That's 2 towers also in advantage of NiP right now. So there hasn't been as much of a focus on global objectives here for the side of Gamers2. And we'll have to see if they get punished for it as JWoww gets jumped on by Ko. Alex Hitch gets a slowdown. JWoww knows he's done. Can he trade one for it? No, he cannot. Intervention going to stop the damage from going down onto Ko as he drops the Cataclysm, and they pick up another kill.
It is a cool little thing about the composition that because Ko's built so much damage, you would normally just expect Jarvan to get focused out every single time. But as it is now, they use the Kayle ultimate to keep him alive. So they may have some difficulty now with it being on cooldown.
Alex Hitch trying to run himself away from this one. Morden with a nice flash cocoon, going to lock Alex Hitch up. Alex Hitch had a tough task running away from the Kassadin anyway. Turns out it's a lot harder when you get stunned for a while. He puts down an impressive amount of damage on Morden before he falls. But at the end of the story, it's still going to be Ocelot picking up another kill for his teleport.
Remember, he did have the Runaan's Hurricane there, so he was actually doing full auto-attack damage, or 50% auto-attack damage, and the on-hit full on both of those two characters. So that was quite a bit, but not enough. Can NiP get anything in return? Doubtful in the top lane here. If you overcommit here, you're going to risk running face first into Graves' AoE, but there's always the potential to burst.
Zonya's Hourglass now picked up here for Ocelot. He's going to be so incredibly difficult to take down, as not only be able to just consistently reposition himself across a fight, but also just go untargetable for 2 seconds. JWoww he's starting to build up towards the tankiness. Like he's starting to get bigger, but it's going to be a long time before he's just completely unkillable. And Nuke Duck going to be able to pull himself out. Mithy's there. Mithy going to get slowed up by the Solar Flare. He's waiting for people to group up before he drops the ultimate. Not even going to end up using it. Dude picks that kill up as they bring a colossal amount of burst, and down goes Mithy. Now once again we see Kassadin on the chase. Very, very strong in this position. Nuke Duck going to kick him away, jump out to the ward. That's the nerfs to Kassadin's silence being a channel breaker now. JWoww going to teleport into the middle of everything, going to take all the focus. Not going to end up going down though. Freeze, drops Ace in the whole Ko. Going to pull himself away from this one as Ocelot continuing to try to chase this one down. Who's he going to go for? He wants Ko. He wants Ko. He wants to take him back down. Riftwalk comes back in. There's the Force Pulse for the kill. Gamers2 finding kills all over the map as Ocelot has improved to 6, 1, and 4.
I think that may have been 4 separate flashes as well there from NiP, and they still didn't get away. The chasing power is strong. We've said it before. And now Alex Hitch is...
Oh, the cocoon doesn't land, but Alex Hitch going to have to use the intervention to stay alive long enough to the air. Can he get Yuki too? No, he cannot. Morden going to be able to pick that kill up.
If he picked up Yuki there, I'd have called that a bait. I was very surprised to see him there at all, but he had so much damage. He was able to get that one kill in return. That's going to give Gamers2 pause for thought. They can't let themselves get into a proper team fight. Not against that damage. Not right now. That is not a viable option for them.
Alright, so Ocelot, enormous at this point. 6-1-4. Picked up the blue buff for himself now. So gonna give him that extra cooldown reduction. It's gonna take him up. Wait, did he not get it?
Yes, he's got it. He's got it. Yeah.
He's got it. Okay. He has no cooldown. I looked at his cooldown reduction. It's 13%, which is pretty low. But again, he isn't building any cooldown reduction items. He's just relying on building pure damage and tankiness out of his items, or damage and survivability, I suppose I should say. And then he's just gonna be looking for later items and blue buffs to help keep him riff walking around all over the place.
Yeah, he's got his Zhonya's Hourglass now, so we can actually form a slightly ham-fisted kind of an initiation for his team now. He can play a lot more riskily when he's going to try and chase someone down, because he can just Zhonya's to wait for his team to catch up. But he's mostly playing as a split pusher right now. He's clearing out waves, going the top lane, then looking to roam down. Actually, at the moment, looking to recall out. He's got quite a bit of gold, though, 1,200, so that should be at least a good blasting wand or something like that.
I can't wait to see someone from the side of Gamers2 build a Frozen Heart. They have so many options for people who could do it. It could be the Rise, it could even be the Cassidon, it could be the Elise. But once they get a Frozen Heart, it's going to cut down so much of this damage output. Caitlyn losing attack speed, Kayle losing attack speed, Lee Sin and Jarvan all losing attack speed. It's going to be a huge buff to their teamfight presence, which, admittedly, we haven't really seen that much of yet. It's mostly just been catch after catch after catch.
And that's a good way of playing against NiP, remember. They're highly skilled in their team fights, but that doesn't necessarily mean they are as skilled in their map movements. Although I'll say they've done a pretty solid job so far. They've not had a flawless time of it. Alex did just walk past a pink ward. He's not clearing it. Okay. Interesting choice.
Alex in a bit of trouble here. There's the commitment onto JWoww, and there's Ocelot jumping back in. Alex knows he's done for. Throws down the intervention, has a tower to help out, and Mithy's there as well. So the presence of Mithy will make that tower a little bit too scary to dive. He blinks in anyway. Teleport now coming out from NukeDuck to turn this back around. Ocelot and JWoww cannot secure the kill.
Yeah, he's going to try and... He finished the channel on the teleport there, NukeDuck. I thought he was just doing it to scare him off, because now they're going to have to try and hold this tower 3 versus 4. That's dangerous at this stage of the game. Remember, Duke can tank very easily. So
and also can go forward and slow people.
Yeah. Got to be very careful. When you're on half health as well, now they can get to siege in this tower, and 2 people are probably going to have to recall before long.
So JWoww was able to get a lot of health back from his ultimate, and you see he's able to kind of maintain his presence on this push. Likewise, Alex with this. Look at the burst damage from Ocelot. NukeDuck goes back in, tries to get the kick back in, but he gets CC'd too early, and will only be able to kick Ocelot off to the side. Now Mithy taking down very low, Solar Flare plus the Q. Gonna be enough to pick that kill up for Ocelot. Now we see Ko tries to go back in and lock everyone up under the tower. The Cataclysm goes down. It's got so many members trapped inside of it, but Yuki's taking up the tower, and he's gonna be able to sustain right through all of that one. Double kill goes down for Yuki, and it's a 4-for-1 in favor of Gamers2.
That was frankly like a blender in the middle of that Cataclysm, because there was so many people trapped in there that even the Rise AoE was starting to hit for quite a lot, let alone the Kayle and whatnot else. Definitely a big advantage there taken by Gamers2. They put themselves actually now in the lead on gold, I think for the first time in this game. That's going to start causing serious pause for concern here for NiP, because now Gamers2, they're starting to get very strong with their Rise. They're starting to scale up very, very hard on their Cassidon, and Baron is starting to come into the picture, where high mobility team compositions with good picking potential are very, very valuable as compared to straight teamfight comps.
And Ocelot, he just grabbed up a Void Staff too. The damage is, it hits. I don't even have words for it. I mean, you saw how he was able to blow up members of Ninjas in Pajamas in the last fight. That was without, even having that, the not only the additional ability power, but the extra magic penetration that comes out from that Void Staff. Ocelot is an absolute monster right now. He is a nightmare to deal with.
Yeah, he just is. At this point, his Riftwalk is still rank 2, but he is not far off level 16, and then it drops down to about 3-second cooldown, I want to say, which obviously amplifies all the problems with dealing with Cassidon even more, which is just a barrel of laughs. He's picked up the home guard now. Looks like he's going to go pushing the bot lane. He's got vision control over Baron. He's got teleport, so why not?
And they do still have the double teleport as well, and NukeDuck's teleport is down. We did see him use it in the last fight. and wasn't really able to get a whole lot for it. So Gamers2 going to have complete map pressure control. And it's so much of this has just come down to catches and really small scale skirmishes that build up into the large engagements. And the longer that style of play goes on, the better it's going to go for the side that has Cassidy.
Yep. That's basically the long and the short of it, and that's why NiP are trying to force right now. But they're not going to succeed, and that means they now have to respond to Ocelot in the bot lane. Gamers2 may have to worry about being baited in here. I'm not sure I'd fancy actually starting this off as NiP.
NiP going to start it up anyway. Teleport coming in immediately from Ocelot. Maybe here for this one. They just surround him. Rift walks himself over the wall. Ko going to go in onto this one. Ko going to drop the ultimate onto JWoww. Going to lock up that choke. Ocelot just waiting for his cooldown to go back over. Intervention comes down as Ko tries to flash himself back out. Big engagement coming in. Dude going to end up going down. Now we see Ocelot rather gets into the middle of the entire enemy team, drops the Zhonya's, going for a little bit of a Messiah-style initiation, comes back up, gets locked up, goes down. Alex Ich with a huge shutdown onto him. 500 gold going over to the Kale. Now Yuki getting slowed up by the red buff. Freeze chasing him down, has a ward in the brush. Ace in the hole comes out. Yuki's going to go back down. It ends up going 3 for 1 in favors of ninjas in pajamas.
Yeah, so that time Gamers2 had a couple more issues in their fight they didn't have in the last one. For one thing, obviously, they had to put a lot of focus on Ku, who's then made invulnerable, something they've had several times to deal with. But another one of their problems is the first Rift Walk from Kassadin was to take him pretty much out of the fight. So the first 4 or 5 seconds, he was doing nothing. Then eventually he did manage to zone out a lot of players at once using his Zhonya's and jumping in. But by that time, they'd already taken so much damage, Gamers2 were not able to win the team fight overall. And now, of course, they've ceded the Baron over.
So you see Freeze he's getting to a colossal point for Caitlyn. The closer and closer he gets to that 6-item phase, the scarier it's going to become. And, you know, take a look at this. The scariest thing for Ocelot to deal with is if he rift walks into any position where Mythy can stun him up. Because locking down the Kassadin is going to be absolutely essential to picking up that kill, and the amount of lockup that they actually have for him is relatively limited. They only have stuns coming out from Mythy. If they get a good stun down, they can set up the trap as well, so they can potentially catch him that way, and then Jarvan can knock him up. But that's about it as far as just hard CC to keep him in place. So those are the cooldowns that Ocelot needs to keep in mind. And if he puts himself either rift walking into a situation or uses his Zhonya's anywhere near those champions who have that lockdown potential, he's going to have to be extremely careful because there's always the potential for him to get locked up as soon as he comes out of that stasis.
Now, he's hit level 16, so of course he's going to have that Rift Walk up a little bit quicker. But now, of course, he's going to be forced to respond to NiP because they are now the ones in the driving seat with the Baron buff pushing down towards this bottom lane. I don't foresee this inner tower lasting. Gamers2 might try and fight for it, but it would be a bit risky if they want to do that. And they've also got to be very careful about how they move through the jungle here. Dude is not going to be the target, though. They don't want to burst. They don't want to try and burst down Leona.
And NiP just taking vision control and standing in brushes where they know they have pink wards. Nuke Duck going to take a little bit of damage from Ocelot. But at this point, he's got enough magic resistance. The Spectre's Cow coming back in. He's got a lot of sustain as well from both the Ravenous Hydra and then his maxed out. Well, it's actually only 3 points right now, but the Safeguard Iron will giving him a lot of sustain. Ninjas in Pajamas really want to push down to this tower if they can, and they will be able to drop it.
Don't stay too long there, Gamers2. We've seen super aggressive dives from NiP, and if they get a situation where they can burst out 2 major damage threats, probably about that, in the first couple of seconds, they will take that dive right now because they've got the intervention. They can block out the tower for such a long period of the fight. Of course, they will continue to try and siege as well. They've got the Caitlyn, and they've got the sustain. So this may continue until Gamers2 are forced to go for the fight. They've got to be very careful about what they choose to do here, but they may have to. If they can't wave clear fast enough, they will have to engage.
So JWoww continuing to get poked out. Ocelot got poked out really hard as well, but he has the home guard, so able to just go back out. There's a solar flare onto Freeze. Freeze never able to move, just gets locked up and taken down. Ko with another nice cataclysm, locks up a bunch of people. Yuki and everyone uses their mobility to actually get themselves out of this one. Yuki gonna be able to pick up the kill onto Ko. That's a 3 for none. And Gamers2 with a dominant defense of their tower, and once again, Kassadin on the chase. How do you escape from this?
You don't. That's basically it. Spoiler alert. They might be able to force them off the 1 kill there. Not going to get Alex Ich, but no, they're not going to get Nuke Duck either, apparently.
Wow. They commit to go for the Lee Sin. Lee Sin, by far the more mobile of the two champions, and he will be able to get himself away from this one. Gamers2 gonna be able to take some advantages from this as well. They're gonna move in. They're gonna take down the dragon with no one from NiP able to contest. But this is a situation that was talked about a lot at the very end of Season 2, is medium risk, high reward. NiP lost that fight, but they're not going to lose but so much for it. They're going to take down the dragon, but they're not going to lose any towers, they're not going to lose any inhibitors or anything like that, because the positioning on the map is so far on Gamers2's side of the map that they can't win a fight and then just immediately go and push down some really high value targets.
That being said, if Gamers2 hadn't got that engaged there, they were in a horrible situation. They got a really nice cocoon to start off that fight, which enabled them to focus out Caitlyn very, very early on, and also, I think, waste a lot of Ko's cooldowns. But if that had not been broken at that exact time, and if that siege kept coming in, they were losing about 15-20% of their tower's health every time NiP moved in for another, burst of damage on it. If that siege continued, they would lose their inhib tower, they would lose their inhib shortly afterwards, because the siege at that point would be even worse, and that would have put them well behind, since then they'd have the bottom inhib pressure, top towers, and the Baron being the next focuses after that. So kind of dodged a bullet, honestly, on that front.
So Yuki now has the IE, has built up the 4 damage items. There's a QSS for freeze in addition to the Mikhail's Crucible now from Mithy. So not very likely that we'll see another CC lockdown like that catch him out. But at this point, the damage may have already been done. NiP, the momentum has shifted back and forth so many times between these two teams, and Freeze getting taken out at the very beginning of that fight could potentially have been the very last big swing. Baron's going to be back up in just under 2 minutes, and that is very likely going to be where the fate of this game is decided.
So what's becoming predictable here? Gamers2, they split with him so much that now Mithy just knew he was going to be there ahead of time. Still difficult to catch him, though.
Yeah, he's got a blue elixir now. It's a little bit of extra cooldown reduction. He's going to just TP away from this one. He wants nothing to do with this. Not going to take the risk on having his recall canceled, and gets himself back out. He TP'd to a tower as well, so the short cooldown, just over 3 minutes, and then he'll be able to do that again.
Yep, not the worst situation for him there. I mean, if he had complete map vision, he probably would have just said, well, I'm going to chance it with the Rift Walks here, because he probably could have just circled a really long route around, but definitely worth it from his perspective to use TP on that, keep himself alive. And well, looks like we're going to be seeing some farming now, basically. Just until the next Baron comes up, there's not going to be much presence from either side, and Gamers2 aren't going to be trying to do any split pushing plays without their TP up.
30 seconds until the Baron comes up. It's going to become a game about vision right now. Alexich has vision of JWoww. C champion, kill champion. JWoww going to face check this brush. Missy's there as well. There's the teleport. JWoww is gone. Down for 63 seconds. Will that be enough for NiP to claim this Baron?
Probably. Honestly, probably. They've got tanky now. They've got tanky guys that can tank that Baron for them. They've got decent bit of sustain. They've got lifesteal, etc., etc. So it's not a super risky thing for them to do. And as we've mentioned, Gamers2's composition is not amazing in a straight-up fight, especially not with Rise missing. But, well, we've seen Gamers2 hold off against the Baron before. Got to question JWoww's positioning up in the top lane then, though. If you don't know where anyone is, that's dangerous.
Ocelot goes in on the freeze. Ocelot going to get locked up inside the Cataclysm. Burns his Zanya's Hourglass. He will be able to rift walk out as soon as he comes back up. Ko tries to knock him up, but could not get the timing just right. Dude now on the run. He's the buffer between himself and his AD carry and the rest of the team. Nuke Duck, yeah, war jump over the wall. Yuki's going to get caught out. Down he goes to the combined firepower of Nuke Duck and Freeze. Now Dude leading them on a merry chase through the towers. The scenic route over on the red side. He's going to flash himself over a wall, and they give up the chase on that one. But nonetheless, it's going to be Yuki going down to no reply in favor of NiP.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that right now NiP haven't just gone back to the Baron. They've got the damage to do it reasonably safely, as mentioned, and they knew Gamers2 were going to have to recall there, but obviously Ko did feel the need to heal up. They will return there relatively quickly. And there's still a man down. There's still a major carry not available for Gamers2, so it's almost the same situation that we just saw occurring again. Although obviously Ocelot last time tried to create a pick, and that's what inspired that fight rather than the Baron take.
And this time it looks like Ninjas in Pajamas might be left to their own
That's
devices
dying
with the
fast.
Baron. Yeah, Gamers2 not going to be anywhere near this one. There's the smite. Ko going to claim that Baron for his team. And Ninjas in Pajamas on the aggressive once again.
Yep, got the Baron. Getting to the point now where items are becoming a little bit less important, but still, gold differences are noticeable. Baron buff, very, very valuable as well. I just got to say, at the moment, if NiP get that siege going again, I don't foresee the cocoon engage happening. I was a 1 in 30 attempt there, and NiP would be able to take down the tower quickly, but Baron buff or no, if you get caught out again by Kassadin trying to instigate that siege situation, you will end up dead as a result.
Yeah, we saw, Ocelot was able to dive in onto Freeze, but Freeze had the QS this time around, so he didn't get slowed up. It wasn't easy for Ocelot to close in and get lots of W's down with the huge bonus damage that comes from that. And that was a big part of what allowed Freeze to survive that burst. They might need to wait until Freeze actually has some summoners back up, because that's another huge part of keeping him alive against Ocelot, or at least until he has the summoner heal back up. Gamers2 just camping in the brush right now, but lots of pings going down onto it from Ninjas in Pajamas. They know exactly what's going on.
Yep. If you're in a desperate situation and your regular play is to think, well, we've got to go for a pick here, and it becomes predictable. And what's predictable is not very dangerous.
Go. Comes around from the other side, puts some auto attacks onto Dude. Dude takes almost no damage. Ocelot jumps over the wall. Says, Ko, this is how it's done. But of course, Ko's got Alex to help him out with the heals. So the siege, that combined with the Baron buff, is going to make the siege very, very strong here for the side of NiP.
There's a little bit more potential in the siege situation here than anywhere else to get hits.
There's a nice Cataclysm locking everybody up. They need them confined to this big AoE. Dude drops down the ultimate trying to create space. Ko picks up the kill onto Yuki. There's Ocelot trying to get himself back out. Double kill goes down as Dude falls as well. The bottom lane for Gamers2 won't survive, and neither will the top tower.
Yeah, I think the bottom lane is going to be the major concern now, because this is a 5 versus 3 and Gamers2 are staring defeat in the face. They lose this inhib, they lose so much map presence, and that is what their composition needs to create picks. As I've said so many times, and NiP did just lose that. They just take that tower. Should be getting the inhib here. Ocelot doing the best he can.
Ocelot runs in with the home guard, puts down big burst damage, Rip walks himself back out. Now Nuke Duck jumps back in, JWoww gets locked up by the CC, he's going to go down. Nuke Duck turns onto Ocelot, Rift walks himself back out, and just like that, NiP claimed their first inhibitor of the game.
There we go. So they've gotten that down. Now they can recall, heal up, get their gold spent. The Baron buff won't be up, I think, for the next siege that they do, but they are going to be okay with that because they will be able to force Gamers2 into a straight-up 5-on-5, which is what they've been trying to do all game. And they've utilized Baron very well in order to engineer this advantage they've got now. When Baron was too difficult for either side to take very safely, that was when Gamers2 were really thriving. Now, they've fallen a long way behind, and they're starting to suffer more and more. Kayle, going to push out this bot lane. I guess Gamers2 could try and get like a preemptive pick, send Kassadin down there, but I don't think he can duel Alex-ish at least.
I'm looking to Freeze to see which items he's going to buy here. He's basing about 2,600 gold. He's got a couple options. And yeah, the Mercurial Scimitar kind of makes the most sense. And that's what he's going to buy. So just stacking more damage on in addition to the cleanse active he's going to have. He is a terrifying Caitlyn at this point. Once you hit this phase and your headshots are hitting this hard and the auto attacks are coming out this fast, it's so difficult to deal with. Even his defensive item doubles as an offensive item right now. Freeze is a monster.
Yeah, this is one of the underestimated weaknesses of Ryze. He's not the best either.
Mithy uses the Talisman of Ascension, going to take a lot of burst damage, drops the Timbers down onto Morden. Morden going to be able to repel himself away. Solar Flare goes down, keeping Freeze out of the fight. Cataclysm now goes down onto Ocelot. Ocelot taking a lot of damage, still has his Rift Walk. He gets himself back out. Ko taken down very low. Intervention comes down as he flashes out to keep himself alive. Alex Itch steps forward. The Hurricane dealing damage to both Morden and Yuki. Has to flash away. Flash forward comes in. There's the quick draw from Yuki. He's going to be able to pick that kill up. The rest of Ninjas in Pajamas, however, able to clear up everybody else. Morden on the run. Yuki all by himself. Freeze lands the Piltover Peacemaker into the Fog of War, picks up the double kill, and Ninjas in Pajamas, they're pinging out onto Yuki. They want to try to chase him down. Ko very low right now. One more auto tackle, get it done. There is the smoke bomb. Ko turns back around. He's trying to set this kill up. Stun goes down from Mythy. Yuki now trying to take down Mythy before he goes down. Can he take it down? Exhaust goes down. Nuke Duck now finding his way to Yuki. Yuki going to end up falling down while Freeze moves in to clean up the base. One Nexus tower goes down. Teleport comes in from Nuke Duck. Second Nexus tower goes down. And that's going to be the best of 3 over to NiP.
Much closer this second game, but they will be dropping into the losers bracket again. And Gamers2 have not had a good record against NiP so far in the games they've played. I think they've only taken 1 game off them in both of these tournaments, and that